All right, well, thank you, Frank, for that wonderful introduction. Frank, as he told you, was a classmate of mine back in 1994, which was, I think you guys all know, the greatest class that ever graduated from the business school. In all seriousness, the most wonderful thing about coming to Columbia then was to get a chance to meet with and get to know people like Frank, who was from China, and people who grew up in strange places like New Jersey and Connecticut. And for a Denver boy, that was quite an experience. It brought what I thought was the best of what New York could be together in a place where we could all learn and have fun together and learn quite a bit about the ways of the world. I'm going to start and thank you, Dean Hubbard. You've done a wonderful and masterful job organizing not only what I'll call the 100 years of Columbia celebration activities, but also driving forward this campaign. And when I got back here to spend some time with you recently, I was reminded about the wonderful days I had here at Columbia, and you know, a chance to see some familiar faces and Safwan Masri and others, and it brought back wonderful memories about Columbia in the early 90s. You know, New York City was a very different place back in the early 90s. Morningside Heights was a very different place than what it is today. And I remember the late nights at Uris Hall with my classmates and learning so much about what it is to be a business person in that hall. As Frank told you, I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and I make Austin, Texas my home now. And New York will always hold a very special place in my heart. And it's so especially gratifying to see how the city and the university have flourished over the years. And Dean Hubbard, through your work, and Henry and Art, through your work at the board, really driving forward Columbia Business School in terms of what it is. And frankly, I'll tell you, all this reminiscing made me really think about how short a time we actually have here on campus. It's 2 short years. But yet, those 2 short years for me and for many of us, frankly, take an outsized position in our memory, because they are years of extraordinary growth. They are years where, in some cases, bright-eyed 18-year-olds show up on campus and do the brilliant things that their mother told them they could do when they were 2 and 3 and 4, or a 30-year-old worldly engineer like myself, starting out at Columbia Business School, could also see the potential of what life had for me. And I'll tell you, just like you, Robert, when I showed up on campus, Columbia, place of Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett, Henry Kravis, I knew I had it made. But my grandfather had a completely different reaction. I had a good job at Kraft General Foods. He's like, "Are you crazy? Why would you leave a job where you make money to go get in debt to start owing money?" And that was a very foreign concept for my grandfather's generation, but frankly, and it took a few years for my family to really understand this, but they finally came around to my thinking about the importance of investing in yourself so you can invest in your community. And Columbia Business School was one of the best decisions I ever made. I came here with the mind of an engineer. I was a chemical engineer. I loved complex systems and problems and deconstructing them and figuring out ways to create new equilibriums in systems. And while my engineering processing orientation was very helpful to me, what Columbia helped me do was shape my view of the world. It introduced me to tools that I could use to understand complex human problems and social problems. And as Robert Steele talked about, how do you think about marrying business and philanthropy and the public sector to solve the biggest and hardest problems in the world, and to help me become the person I wanted to be. My classmates and I had the great fortune of coming to business school when technology was actually at the forefront of what we were learning. And frankly, it was advancing at breakneck speeds, moving even faster and faster and becoming even more efficient. And productivity solutions were even becoming more accessible. And the applications became smaller and smaller in their size and more powerful in their intent. You know, I remember, like a few people in this room, that wonderful screaming of that 28.8 baud modem connecting to this thing called the internet, accessing processing power a half hour at a time. And now the unlimited potential we have that we carry around in our pockets. The innovations in technology and science that we've seen over the last quarter century have been nothing short of miraculous. And yet we're still in the early innings, the early stages of this tech revolution. We're just now entering this fourth industrial revolution. It's an era where human history will define itself. Technology will either evolve from being a part of our lives to becoming very central to every part of our lives. And today, for the first time in human history, opportunity can be created without access to mountains of capital, ownership of land, or natural resources, or ownership of people. Today, wealth can be solely created through the power of one's mind. Your ideas, your genius, and the intellectual capital can be cultivated, monetized, and instantaneously distributed across the globe. In fact, intellectual capital has become the new currency of business. And finance and brain power, and business and finance, and the promise of brain power to move individuals, families, and entire communities from poverty to prosperity in one generation. This is now possible. Technology is increasing our efficiency, our productivity, and with the advent of data, cognitive solutions, artificial intelligence, further connections are being made to expand and unlock this opportunity. Software, the world that I live in, is at the center of this hotbed of productivity, allowing more of us to produce more, faster, and better. And technological innovations are providing solutions and platforms for solving problems in the environment, monitoring forests, tracking whales, and frankly, improving energy storage across solar systems or across solar panels. Frankly, here's the thing. It has now evolved to a point where we can use software and technology to actually change our environment for the better. And there are many problems that we can solve by using it. But for all of this extraordinary potential, the way we choose to leverage technology is still an open question. We discover every day that technology has enormous power to unite, but it also has enormous power to alienate. It can amplify, but it can also disenfranchise. It can tear down barriers, and it can build up walls. It's true that just a few years ago, what took a factory of 40 people can now be made by one piece of equipment and one engineer. This is progress. But the steady march of progress doesn't need to leave everyone else behind. The future doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. So what we need to do is think about how do we reskill and skill up our population. Training and retraining our citizens, our global citizens, must be a priority if our workers will be prepared to operate the technology platforms that will be the job engines of the future. Programs like Code.org, InPower, Girls Who Invest are all doing these things, and we need to help these sort of organizations scale. Tech is delivering productivity for the few who can benefit from it at the moment, but we need to create on-ramps for inclusion of all people, no matter what their race, their gender, religion, or country of origin is, for the workforce of today and the future. InPower is an organization that's close to my heart that many of you may not know about. But what they do is they look and they take inner city high school graduates, returning veterans, and reskill them. And we are expanding this program in Baltimore, St. Louis, New York, Chicago, and what it provides is dignity and courage and a peer group for a community that doesn't feel like they have access to the opportunities that we all have had access to. They've applied to their lives what Columbia Business School professor and legend Benjamin Graham said, who, by the way, Henry, I think is the third best investor ever graduate from Columbia. Investing isn't about beating others at their game. It's about controlling yourself at your own game. Graham understood that discipline, conviction, and confidence determine who succeeds, who leads, and who prevails. These young people, these veterans in power, prove to me that they are willing to control their own destiny. And they do it every single day, even though a large segment of them are homeless when they start the program. We also need to remain vigilant and serve as advocates for sustainability and conservation. Today, of course, the extinction rate for animals on this planet are 100 to 10,000 times more than what they've been over the last 100 years. We are the cause of that. And so to preserve the earth for future generations, we must align our financial resources and our incentives to tap technology and drive behavioral change to save our planet. We can either choose to harness the technology as the greatest equalizer and wealth creator in human history, or we can choose it to let it victimize, minimize, and fracture our communities. We know what we need to do. We need to strike the delicate balance of people, jobs, environment, and the economy as a whole. The key point is that we have a choice in the matter, and we desperately need to invest in those who aren't afraid of taking responsibility for these consequential choices. We need to invest in the thinkers, in the doers, and in the leaders who won't just follow the arc of history, but will bend it. And that's exactly why I'm investing in Columbia. This is where the work gets done. This is where the next generation of leaders hone their tools and calibrate their moral compass. This is where young people who believe in progress and values and social justice come together. Individuals who want to preserve our environment, who want to build an inclusive society and see business and capitalism as a solution, not as a problem, just as I did and just as we do. We are all responsible for paving these on-ramps to give more people access to opportunities so that many of us have benefited from. We have the skills, we have the imagination, and we have the ability to retrain this workforce and to serve our planet. We know what to do. This is not theoretical. There's no need for theoretical people to solve. It's our job, and it's happening right here at Columbia Business School. I want to thank you very much for your time, and thank you for this wonderful award.